2, 3, and 4, and 5, 7, and 8. Pull.
A lot of people think that dancing and acting are two different things. Like the show is be scene work, and then as soon as you get up to a dance, you're just dancing and not telling the story. I come from a base. The man I danced under for a long time was a Fosse dancer, and so his style is really forwarding both the character development and the plot line within the dance.
As she sets the dance work for the Arvada Center's musical production of Evita, choreographer Kitty Skillman Hilsabeck draws from that base. And though she seems to eat, sleep, and drink dance these days, she says it wasn't always that way.
I actually was a gymnast growing up, fairly serious, where it was like every day for 5 hours in the gym.
In fact, gymnastics was a family passion. Her dad, a tumbler at Michigan State, and her sister tumbled too.
My dad just, at one point we had a trampoline in our backyard, and then all of a sudden one day he had this low beam built first, so we had that. Then one day I came home from school and these men were putting together uneven parallel bars. So we had an entire gym in our backyard. My sister and I ran gymnastics programs back there, and at a very young age we just got really into the whole, world of gymnastics. So I really never pictured myself going into the dance world.
Though Hilsabeck competed in national and international levels, she says she never aspired to the Olympics.
I don't know why. I didn't really like the competition. I liked the performance element of gymnastics, and that it was really an art form for me.
So she started college, but got called to coach her old Michigan team. That's about when the dancing bug finally began to hit her.
I realized I was a frustrated performer, called a friend in New York and said, what do I do to start training in dance? And he asked me to join his company.
Hilsabeck gave New York a shot for a while before returning to Detroit.
Once I moved back and joined this company in Detroit, it was really like the first day. I knew I want to do this my whole life.
From there, Hilsabeck landed a job with the Hubbard Street Dance Company in Chicago, where she spent 10 years with some of the most well-known choreographers in the country, including some with a Bob Fosse influence. The company was often featured in TV productions. One piece called Group Therapy depicted couples dancing out their problems.
The dance that I'm doing is done to It's Getting to Be a Habit with me, and she's a chain smoker. Her boyfriend, husband, or partner doesn't want her to be, so she's hiding the fact that she's smoking. So the whole dance, she's constantly, she goes to turn to him and it hides. They do a lift, she's smoking in the lift, it drops down where he can see her and she hides it again. And at the end, he finally discovers that she is smoking.
Another piece was under the direction of a choreographer who had trained with the Joffrey Ballet.
It's called Mirage, and it's about Echo and Narcissus, about him looking at his reflection in the water at first, and she comes out and tries to fall in love with him, but he's too in love with himself. It's a beautiful duet.
While in Chicago, she met her then-husband, Rick Hilsabeck, and together they toured with one of the most popular musicals ever, Phantom of the Opera.
I started as ensemble, understudying the role of Meg Giry, and then about 3 years later, touring, I moved up to the role of Meg Giry and then toured about 3.5 years more doing that role. I loved the opportunities and traveling and being in different cities. It was a huge show at that time, and it still is, but I mean, just that was like the big show. So when we came into town, we were treated like royalty. It made life pretty exciting.
Her next stop, Colorado, where she began working locally, including her first role at the Arvada Center in 2001 in a Bob Fosse production that drew on her Hubbard Street roots.
The Sweet Charity was my first show, and then I actually performed here for about 3 years before I started choreographing.
Recent credits include La Cage aux Folles.
It's always exciting here, even when I audition people, that when there's a new face that comes in, it's like, oh, who is this person and why haven't they auditioned before?
Hilsabeck still draws on her gymnastic roots and says she finds inspiration for her choreography just about everywhere, even while watching football games or people on the street.
You start storing things so that later when you're choreographing, you kind of draw from all that.
But she's developed some favorite styles.
Definitely the modern, kind of sweepier, and then when I'm doing something more like Evita, I'm actually going more in that direction and using also the South American, that kind of sassy salsa, kind of wild and tango feel, but it's definitely, there's going to be a lot more folk and earthiness to it, and my modern base that I came from.
During shows, she dances as much as 12 hours a day.
Because when I'm not here teaching it, I'm at home tweaking it.
And dance is always on her mind.
3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7.
If I'm not up dancing, I am choreographing it. I wake up at 4 in the morning and I'll find myself that I'm still working on it, and I'll see something and I'll go over it in my head. So it's an all-consuming thing when I'm doing a show.
When she isn't dancing, she may be doing yoga or sit-ups. At only 5'1", her petite frame and boundless energy give her the spunk to play just about any role. Even understudy a 12-year-old boy in Les Miserables. She credits her continued versatility in part to her active lifestyle.
It's physical activity, also creative living and creative life. I think everyone can live that way. I don't think you just have to be in the arts. I think you have to be involved in creating something, because it's that part of your brain that it just creates so much happiness.
And though she mentions that she's dancing past the age when many dancers hang up their shoes, she still loves the thrill of the toss.
Still, when I partner now, and I love to be thrown in the air, and people are like, how are you comfortable with that? And it's just, when you're in gymnastics, you have to approach those fears. Hopefully at a younger age, as you get older, I think fear becomes much more of a factor.
And she acknowledges that with the passing of time, dancers need to think beyond the dance floor.
I do try to prepare myself emotionally for that, because I know a lot of people, when it's taken away from them quickly, or they just lose the passion for it, they find it hard to find passion for something else.
But for now, dance shapes her life, and she's loving the challenge of setting the numbers of Evita and working with creative producer Rod Lansbury.
We have a really nice working exchange artistically, and that's evolved. It started with one thing, and I think each piece we do, we learn more and more about how to approach it, the preparation for it, so that we know we're coming in on the same page and that we have the same vision, and I'm supporting his vision.
Good, nice.
So it's been great. Each thing has just evolved into the next thing. I haven't really planned it. It's just kind of things have happened and come to me, so I feel very fortunate to keep working and keep being challenged.